also know that from local media reports, up to 12 people were shot. We're hearing 8 are confirmed dead. 3 officers were also shot. Watching the events unfolding in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
We just want to know what you need. You know, if it's more money, let us know. If it's people outside your next service, you know, protecting you, let us know. We'll be there.
That was Wasim Muhammad, the executive director of the Islamic Center of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Muslim community has raised more than $190,000 so far to help families affected by this shooting. With me now is Wasim Muhammad, the man you just heard speaking in the video, and Rabbi James Gibson.
In one weekend, did more da'wah than we did in the last 5 years.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. كيف حالكم؟ علي عاشق معاكم. مثل ما شفتم في الأخبار في مقدمة الفيديو، صار هجوم على معبد يهودي وتوفى 11 شخص وفي كذا شخص مصاب في المستشفى. فقام المركز الإسلامي سوى حملة جمع تبرعات لمساعدة المجتمع اليهودي هنا. جمعوا مبلغ أكثر من $200,000. بعض الناس بدأ يسأل ليش المسلمين يجمعون تبرعات لليهود؟ وين راح يصرفون هذه الفلوس؟ وغيرها من الأسئلة. عشان كذا سويت لقاء مع المدير التنفيذي للمركز الإسلامي في بيتسبرغ وسألت هذه الأسئلة. طيب ما أطول عليكم، تفضلوا الفيديو يلا. السلام عليكم. معنا واصي محمد، الرئيس التنفيذي للمركز الإسلامي في مدينة بيتسبرغ في ولاية بنسلفانيا الأمريكية. السلام عليكم واصي.
وعليكم السلام.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that. So some people they ask questions and the most question I received is what inspired you to do that?
aliasheq. Also, in the Quran, Surah Al-Fasilat, 34th ayah, it says if there's evil, you know, you should replace that with what is good. You know, like in good action is important, and also it ends by saying that those actions can make your worst enemies your best friends, basically, right? And that's kind of what we thought would happen, because not only that's a very powerful verse in the Quran, because it not only says that if everybody were to respond in terms of evil in your community with acts of goodness, then that darkness of evil would be blinded and completely removed by the light of these positive deeds. So that's one thing. But also, if you were to do that and just do that first, you know, like you see evil and you do good for somebody first, then you break down these barriers and divides that separate communities like the Muslim and Jewish community and other communities that are traditionally separated. And then people who a second ago hated you, you know, now respect you and want to, you know, stand arm in arm with you.
You know how much have you raised up to this point?
The Muslim community has raised over $230,000.
Oh. So the question is, where does that money go?
So the money goes to 11 people were killed in the shooting, in the massacre in the synagogue. So we'll be paying for their burial expenses, funeral home costs, the cemetery plots, the grave opening and closing. So we're paying for that, as well as medical costs for those who are in the hospital before they died, and also 2 people who are critically injured in the hospital who are still alive, who were injured in the shooting. So there's 2 people there, and there's also 4 police officers. So anybody who needs assistance, either in burial or in medical costs, that's what it goes to.
Wasi, what have you learned from this?
I think I've learned a lot of things. One of the things that I always go back to and I find most striking is that people's opinions about other people and other groups are usually strong but not strongly rooted, you know? So like, for example, Muslim Jewish community. Muslims, whenever this tragedy happened, we were the first group that stood up, came to synagogues, came and supported the community and donated money and did everything, right? All of a sudden, people who admitted to me, you know, came up to me, this is several dozens of people over the last week, came up and said, I did not like Muslims, or I hated Islam. I thought it was evil. I fought against it. You know, I was an IDF soldier. I grew up in America supporting Israel or whatever. And then I just never liked Muslims and never thought they're really the same. And then all of a sudden, they're wanting to come to the masjid. They want to join us for iftar. You know, they want to be a part of the community and work with us because they actually see us as people. So what does that teach me? It teaches me that, one, we're just the same. Most people want the same things: safety, security, love, family, kids. You know, like it's very much similar. and the things that divide us are small. And then also, like, if you have hatred, and it can be so easily removed. You know, if this is the one thing after a lifetime of not liking somebody that makes you not hate them anymore, it must have been a very shallow level of hate, like not that deep. So that means that all it takes is a little acts like this for the Muslim community to change its image. You know, like, just keep doing stuff like this, and people will completely think of Islam differently, think of Muslims differently, and all we're doing is acting by what the Quran and Sunnah has taught us to act. You know, that's what we're doing. And to do that openly to the non-Muslims, like the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did on numerous occasions, visiting the sick who are non-Muslim, supporting those who are non-Muslim, giving sadaqah to those who are non-Muslim. If we follow these traditions, then they'll see us within that prophetic tradition, you know, like in following in the footsteps of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
What's your message for people who did not support this campaign?
I'd say if they're Muslim, read the seerah. You know, like the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Mecca originally, you know, before he was ever Nabi, he was Siddiq. You know, like, people trusted him, people knew him as somebody with good character. People knew him as somebody who supported the community, who was active, you know, who in times of dispute over contracts and promises that Quraysh made, he stood with those regardless of what his tribe wanted, right? He stood against injustice, he stood with those who were oppressed. He helped people in difficult times, and then that's why his message was accepted after. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made sure that he was a person of impeccable character and showed that to the community before he could tell his message and be believed. If Muslims are not seen in a positive light, doing the work that the Quran and Sunnah tell us to do, then how will anybody ever accept our message? You know, we're not worthy of preaching the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unless we're acting like Muslims. So then that's what we have to do. You know, like, our community in Pittsburgh, in one weekend, did more da'wah than we did in the last 5 years. You know, like, and we were just trying to help people. We didn't plan it that way, but it worked. You know, now there's never been a higher opinion of Muslims in Pittsburgh. It's because all we wanted to do was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked us to do, which is do good for all those, not just Muslims, all non-Muslims, all of community. Society should be better if you have Muslims living in it. Everybody should know that. You know, if you have Muslims living next door, you should be thrilled because they'll do anything for you because you're their neighbors, right? We're supposed to take care of our neighbors regardless of who they are. And then that's our tradition. And if we follow our tradition, Islam will spread. You know, if we just yell about it, then nothing will happen.
Wasi Muhammad, the Executive Director of Islamic Center of Pittsburgh, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum, aliasheq. I appreciate all of it.
Yalla, we'll see you inshallah.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.